welcome back to the Heroes Global Championship in North America. We just finished up our European matches for the weekend, but don't despair, Heroes fans. We have plenty more lined up for you here in NA. I'm Gilly Weed, joined here by my co-commentator Dreadnought. Dread, Sunday, the day you have been waiting for this week. How excited are you?
I'm pretty stoked. You know, we get to see whether or not Gale Force keeps up their performance coming out of week one. Freedom showed awesome signs here on Friday, and then we've got the pleasant surprise out of week one, Teammate and the Superstars.
Let's take a look at the standings because it is very important now where we're starting to head into today. Through last weekend and this weekend, a top four has started to emerge here in North America with Tempo Storm, Team 8, Gale Force eSports, and Superstars. Two veterans in Tempo Storm and Gale Force, and then two surprise factors, Team 8 and Superstars, but it's time to shake that up.
It very much is, and then as you see on the bottom half there, Freedom, Naventic, No Tomorrow, and B-Step all have struggled to even be able to get a win in one of their series against their opponents.
Yes, it has been a top four, bottom four, but there are a lot of matches left yet here in the HGC in North America, even in Phase 1, Part 1. We are barely getting started. We can take a look at today's schedule, too, and see where the shift is going to start. First of all, the newcomers again, Team Freedom, have to go up against Gale Force eSports. This has been a defining weekend for them, first taking on Tempo Storm and now going up against GFE. But they have shown marked improvement even versus Tempo Storm, so I can't wait for that match. After that, Team 8 versus Superstars, finally we can see a break in that top four that has formed, and that is going to continue on into next weekend too.
And then as always, if you guys failed to catch the European games, Fnatic taking on Synergy, or Expert, as always, you know, catching off people off guard and playing against B-Genius, we have those VODs at heroesofthestorm.com/esports.
Now, Gale Force eSports, Team Freedom, it's the first time we're seeing Gale Force this weekend. They had two matches last weekend. What are you expecting out of them? More strangeness in draft? Do you think they'll stick to common picks that they had last time?
I hope to see changes. I think change is always a good thing when it comes to drafting overall, not being predictable. So hopefully, but I do think comfort picks have been a very prominent thing here in North America so far. So I do expect a little bit of what we, have already seen from them.
Well, let's hear what the players have to say about this very first matchup for the day between Gale Force and Team Freedom.
I think that they're on the bottom half, but I think in the league, anyone can beat anybody on any given day, depending on the circumstances. They could pull out something really crazy, and I don't know, we'll just have to see what happens.
I think Gale Force is a highly respected team. I think they also maybe joke around way too much, and they're going to get caught in our dust as we pass them in the series.
Don't have too much information about them. They are in the bottom four teams, at least in qualification. So not too worried about them, but I'm not gonna let my guard down against any team. I think the skill level is close enough to where if you drop your guard, you can easily drop a series against any team. So I think we're confident against them, but we won't let our guard down, and as long as we prepare like we should beat them.
Gale Force, with the addition of Equinox as a tank, I think they lowered their standard. Equinox was a good melee, I can give him that, but as a tank, I'm not surprised Krones plays Muradin.
I think Team Freedom is a really new team. I don't know how well they're gonna do this first split, honestly. I think they're gonna struggle being in the top tier, competing with the top four teams. I think it's really cool, and I'm really excited to watch them grow because I think that team does have a lot of potential. But I think we're honestly going to destroy them. I'm really excited for that 3-0,
Watching that video, it does seem like it's very important for Gale Force to have a 3-0 in this series up against Team Freedom.
I think for at least me, too, I think it's very important that they end up getting a 3-0. With the performance they already had, we've, out of the top of North America and what we expected from last year moving into this one, the teams that were at the top have been struggling against those in the lower threshold. And so Gale Force is really the only one that's come in being able to 3-0 against Naventic. So against Freedom, I would expect the same. I think that would be a huge sign for them if they manage to do that here.
It seems like there's already this silent comparison happening between Gale Force and Tempo Storm, and it's a little way off yet until we actually get to see them match up. But, B-Step went 3-2 with Gale Force, Tempo Storm 3-0s them. And then Naventic 3-2 with Tempo Storm, Gale Force 3-0s them. Knowing that Team Freedom went 3-2 with Tempo Storm, I think Gale Force it makes them even hungrier to want that 3-0 here.
Absolutely. Just showing, again, putting, the fear of Gale Force into Tempo Storm if they have a very convincing win here over them.
And then on the other side, Team Freedom, we have to talk about how incredible of a changeup it was between opening week, only winning 1 game versus Superstars in their Canadian rivalry, and then coming in and winning 2 games versus Tempo Storm. What do you make of that matchup now for Team Freedom to go into this one versus Gale Force?
I mean, I hope to see the positive changes that we saw. I do think a little bit came down to the draft to be the early success they had on Friday, but I hope there were play positives. We saw adjustments and we saw positive change coming out from them. And that's all you can hope, is just to see that still carry over, that it wasn't just a good day.
Well, guys, we're just about to get into the battleground and draft, but first we're going to throw to the standings one more time, as we did have just a couple of errors there. So here we go. You can see the updating standings. Team Davintic has won 1 series. They beat No Tomorrow. It was a crazy series yesterday, too. If you didn't get to see that one, it was a lot of fun, a lot of improvement, again, from No Tomorrow, which has been fantastic to see here in the HGC. These teams not having to come in and play a tournament and just be done over a weekend, finding out what they need to improve on and making those improvements for the next weekend.
Yeah, very much. I agree with that. And between Freedom and Gale Force, just really this series, I feel like it means a lot more than, I guess, at first glance, really. You come out and it's just, it's going to be Gale Force and you're like, Freedom, okay, I expect Gale Force to come out dominant, but really how the story plays out, even if it's exactly what is expected, is very, very crucial for both sides, really.
Yeah, we are ever watchful for how teams are doing, looking as we get closer and closer to the first Western Clash. Let's take a look at our Battleground pool now and see where it is that Gale Force eSports will be taking us for our first map. Gale Force banned Tomb of the Spider Queen. Team Freedom banned Braxis. So for one of the first times Warhead Junction is available, Gale Force, of course, picks Towers of Doom. No surprise there at all.
Yeah, going to be heavy concentration on the globals, playing the game that they pretty much, that is the Gale Force. The epitome of being Gale Force is really Towers of Doom, picking the globals, abusing the map, much like I would say almost Fnatic last year midway through, what they were known to. Granted, I feel like they took it to a far higher level eventually, so it's nice to see that sticking to the comfort here. And Freedom's got to know that, right? Like, it's not this is a secret by any means, so hopefully they have a plan going into the draft.
Well, Freedom did beat Tempo Storm on Towers of Doom, and that's also kind of one of the battlegrounds we associate with Tempo Storm because of their excellent rotations.
Yeah.
Freedom really brought it to them in the team fighting, which will happen. Now, Gale Force eSports have always picked, the last 2 times they've played this map, Falstad Brightwing in their first rotation. We'll see if they want to do that again here.
Yeah, and the Zarya is already removed, and then it's going to be Gale Force removing the Tassadar, so Freedom probably going to be moving either into the Artanis or it's going to be the Ragnaros.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Ragnaros lock-in. I think that is the safer choice there. Definitely enjoy that decision coming out from them. So now, just heavy global focus.
Falstad Brightwing.
There it is. Traditional Gale Force eSports here on Towers of Doom.
Yeah, I don't think Gale Force eSports is surprised at all by the Ragnaros, and by banning Tassadar even, to me, seems like, fine, you can take Ragnaros. We know how to beat it. But for Freedom, this means a lot. The 2 games that they beat Tempo Storm, it was when they had Ragnaros, and they were prioritizing it every single game versus Superstars. So Ragnaros is a key player for Team Freedom to feel comfortable here.
And then the Zeratol and Malfurion synergy going to come out here for Team Freedom. So a couple of adjustments, but a heavy synergistic comp coming out there for Freedom. I like the adjustment, and it also, Zeratol in itself is a pseudo response, or soft response, excuse me, to the globals. Just because the lack of visibility onto him, he has to be fearful, and everybody has to be afraid of the 1v1, especially people like Brightwing. Whereas Falstad has a little bit better time in that, but eventually, usually the Vorpal Blade's going to be enough to confirm a kill.
It seems like, of course, Gale Force wants to ban Diablo here because they don't want to add the synergy of Apocalypse along with Malfurion, Sulfurous Smash, Void Prison. That's also a favored warrior for Team Freedom. Just in general, ETC and Diablo seem to be the top 2 for NA when looking at trying to trade out in warriors. So expect Gale Force eSports to get their warrior, whatever they want. Probably ETC, but they have been playing more Muradin than a lot of the other North American teams so far.
Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting now. What does Freedom want to remove? With the Brightwing prioritization that high, I think it's going to be the ETC not giving the opportunity to move into another global. He is one
or
of
Dahaka.
Or the Dahaka. That is a good point. I actually think I would put more concern towards the Dahaka even over the ETC in this scenario.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of stage dive. It has been done, and maybe here on Towers of Doom they want to, but it's been a lot more about mosh pit, so not getting in for global. Gale Force has a ton of global possibilities already. They really have that avenue covered if they wanted to move into ETC and get mosh pit.
So then with Gale Force having the rotation that they've already, we've seen them be able to do in the past with that false at Brightwing, and then they moved last time into the Vault Tassadar. Obviously, Tassadar has been removed. Not going to be as easy for them to go that direction. So what are they going to be doing here? What is going to be their adjustments? Murden, and it's going to be the Li Ming. Very, very good when it comes to the map. Li Ming has had her struggles here in HGC North America, though, statistically.
She has. She's looking at, let me see if I can find it, 32% of 22 games thus far.
Yep, but I would say this is a scenario where it looks good. Into the Malfurion, into the Zeratul, I like it a little bit more as well, and it's a kind of a denial, again, to what could happen with the Wombo of Team Freedom in their draft, and it's going to be the Tychus and the ETC here for Freedom. Gale Force now, with their very last pick, already got the double backline. I expect to be into the melee department. What do you think it is?
It's hard because you look at things like something that Equinox would like or Fan would like because they are so flexible. Falstad will almost certainly be Michael Udall. So Li Ming, generally we would say Crowan, but Crowan could also be on Murd, and they might just pick up a Tracer here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be either like the Tracer or it's going to be like, the Artanis did make it through. Maybe on this path, they would consider moving into it. I do like, I don't know even, actually. Originally, I was going to say I do like, avoiding the Artanis route, but I do think that there needs to be health bars Thrall. Somebody with a higher health pool to be able to help this composition. Triple backline, especially into a Zeratul, is a terrifying route to be able to run.
Oh yeah, they definitely want somebody else who can help up in the front line too, even if nothing else, to try to zone off Zeratul too off of those backline scary heroes. What's it going to be? Or Medivh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that was another one that I was kind of thinking about, but what do you think of that?
I think it's a risk. I expect a... well, there is the option of the Hunt, I guess, is the main selling point I can kind of see.
They do like it.
Yeah, and the Hunt, it's going to bring another almost global, half global, just huge range, the mobility, the threat onto specific targets. You can get Brightwing to come in with him. So I do like that dynamic of it, but it's, again, one of those scenarios that it's not that it can't work out, and I see the thought process behind it, but there's a lot of, like, is it the best, right? Is it the most optimal? And I feel like there could have been a couple other picks or directions to be able to move in there. Because Illidan is, though he is hard to be able to kill, he still is more vulnerable than some of those higher health pool heroes.
I think they probably would have ideally liked Dahaka there, but him being taken out, they had to make some adjustments. Would you have liked Tracer better than Illidan?
No,
or is
I would
it
have taken the Illidan. Anything with a
okay.
high health pool, but like I said, even maybe like more of the Thrall or running a secondary warrior would have been probably my ideal scenario there for them. Because Zeratul, with that amount of squishies, can just one really good Void could really turn a fight.
Yeah, and there's no Zarya shielding, which Gale Force have relied on quite a bit to help with Brightwing. Maybe Tyrael would have been a helpful ally for them to have to put shielding along with Brightwing, but a lot's going to be on Akaface's shoulders. But Akaface played incredibly last weekend. In fact, he had the highest KDA of any North American support. Probably solely because of his roots. Yeah. Because those were insane on Battlefield of Eternity versus Naventic, but he can pull it off. It's a comfort hero for him too. Yeah,
this is where he kind of started his career as a support, was on the Brightwing, so it's no surprise there. And then, it's just... he is really good, not only on the hero, but then the playmaking he had last week. It was like the first time in a long while I looked at Akaface, and I was just impressed across the board. And it makes me excited. That's one of the, the things on Gale Force, what they bring from week one to here that I'm looking at. Yeah, they do have a lot of synergy when it comes to those global ganks. Something like, it might even this time be Illidan with the Brightwing who can phase shift in, or Falstad. But let's turn over to Team Freedom and look at them. They're going to need a lot of synergy. And in fact, they are 2-0 versus Li Ming, specifically on Towers of Doom. So they are ready and used to playing versus Li Ming, but we'll talk more about the synergy they're needed once we get into the game. We're going into game number 1 between Team Freedom and Gale Force eSports on Towers of Doom. So here we go. On the left-hand side is going to be Gale Force eSports. That is Brightwing played by Akaface. We see Equinox is on the Murden. Mike Udall, in fact, is going to be playing the Falstad, Crowan on Li Ming, and Fan on his famous Illidan.
And over in the red, the new challengers here in HGC in A. Team Freedom, Collusion will be playing Malfurion. Zugrug on ETC. Insomnia with one he is known to play, Zeratul. Dansky on Tychus. And finally, Nazmus will be playing Ragnaros.
On the talents here, Falstad, or excuse me, not Falstad, Fan on the Illidan, yet to be able to pick his level 1, but honestly, there is no overly surprising level 1 that we can see on Illidan to where I think I will be caught off guard here. They do end up going with a 3-man up on the top half of the map, trying to maybe catch anybody if they overextend here. And Zeratul's going to make that transition towards top, so it could get a little risky. But Gale Force, patient as ever.
So, versus Li Ming, 2-0 for Team Freedom. What do you make of that on Towers of Doom?
Okay, so when looking at one hero versus a team, it's a hit or miss statistic, right? Yes, you look at it, well, it's like, well, they can be able to deal with the Li Ming specifically, and that's going to be really great. But what if Li Ming didn't have the setup in that scenario, right? So, whereas they have the Murd in here, I think it's good because she is such a great hero on this map. It's going to be an effective tool for Freedom, but I don't look at that and go, you know what, that means they've got the win here.
I think it does come down to some of the comfort picks, though, that Freedom have. You know, Ragnaros is a pretty effective way of dealing with her. He gets higher health, has armor when he gets stunned, as well as Zeratul, too. They love playing Zeratul, so we'll see if they can make that a 3-0 and take Gale Force eSports down in the first game. But back to the Illidan talent 2, Battered Assault instead of Immolation. That seems to be one that's popping up a lot more in North America, especially when you look at Gale Force.
Yeah, it is a little surprising. It does gain a bit of value, but I don't know. It's one of those things where you might be able to work out. The question is whether or not it is going to, and I know that sounds very simple, but it comes down to how many scenarios. Oh, goodness, this is going to be Insomnia going down there. He's already got his teleport burnt. Worst case timing, and the fact that they do have the shrines here spawning in 10 seconds. But again, when asking about the compositions, you know, when we looked at the last pick on the side of Gale Force eSports going with the Illidan, it's not always necessarily that a pick is a bad one, but the easiest pick is often going to be the better one, and it's the same thought process with talent. The one that will gain the most value in most scenarios is the correct option. And so if the Battered Assault can somehow overvalue the Immolation, then suddenly it would be a better prioritization there.
When you look at Immolation, though, you're looking a lot of times at his ability to clear out waves really fast if he's by himself, and then, of course, his murking ability. But that is lessened here, especially if he believes he will be always with Akaface pushing in that regard.
Oh, Equinox.
So, yeah, Team Freedom get a first kill on this, and both teams traded out their top altars. So now it's just a fight over the bottom one. Gale Force eSports are going to play it safe. They know that Towers of Doom, it's a long way to go to be able actually to win the game and take the core to 0. So they're just going to give that up and make sure they don't lose any other members here.
I wonder if that kill got that much more satisfying based on the, intro video saying, I've seen Equinox on take. There's a reason Crowin plays Murden. Do you think you get that little bit of satisfaction when he overextends like that? We'll see if that continues to happen here, though. The 4-shot advantage for Freedom here, as they do take an early lead, but we have to consider this is Gale Force, it is Towers of Doom. This is going to be an uphill battle for them, and the global, factor, if you will, is really not going to be coming into play until we hit that 13, 14, 15-minute mark.
It has been funny to see Team Freedom just constantly happy with BMing their opponents.
Oh, yeah.
But previous teammates between Equinox and Collusion on Gusterbus, so it makes sense to want a little rivalry there.
I mean, yeah, very much understandable here. Illidan is now going to be looking to capture those sappers on the top lane. Insomnia going to be the only one for the response to clear them. Ragnaros is making this transition. If Zeratul spots it, not going to be able to in time. So GFD going to get the camp, getting the pressure, and both teams taking a very passive, at least outside of the shrine, decision-making.
Dan's going to jump in on top of Insomnia. He blinks away, and Gale Force are looking to take down towers here with the Sappers and Li Ming to pressure the top lane. Something that they have done many times on Towers of Doom is be a team that focuses on the top Sappers, whereas a lot of other teams are just trying to get the sweep of both the Sapper camps in the bottom lane to put constant pressure there.
Yeah, eventually will add up, and Collusion now is going to be in a tough spot. There's no way he's going to be making it out there. He ends up going down. Again, timed with the map objective. Gale Force eSports seems very calculated on when they decide to show their aggression here over Freedom. That is going to be 4 seconds difference between the transition and without the middle, portal up. I don't think there's any shot here except for that Molten Core to buy enough time.
Molten Core has bought some time. Malfurion will be up in 1 second, but now it's trying to get him there, get him to the altar before Molten Core runs out. Should be down in just a few more seconds. Gale Force eSports are spreading out, making sure they continue the split soak. They know that there's just no point here of trying to pick up the altar until the Molten Core has concluded. So now that everybody else can move back in, Falstad even is going to go up and soak top. If he's needed to fly in, he needs to. But Gale Force eSports, again, are willing to play the patient game, lose a little bit on the early game to make sure that they are getting ahead in the long shot. But that was a beautiful face melt, Zugrug.
Man, Zugrug with that interrupt on the Dwarf toss, confirming the kill for his team, and what looked like another, Gale Force and Tempostorm are the teams that do it the most. Whenever they have that false at the global, willing to soak the side lane, buy time, get that poke and delay. So anytime that your opponents can recognize what's happening, be able to punish accurately like that, it's a very rare feat for especially young teams here like Freedom. So they're doing a very good job here. The experience obviously is a bit of a struggle, but the shots they've been able to make, really be able to pick up is it's going to be able to negate that here, as 10 should be achieved relatively soon for both sides.
Yeah, that's the second time too that Team Freedom have been able to get a kill on Equinox specifically. So maybe playing like he has Avatar, which he does not just yet. Once they get to heroic abilities, it will be a change for them too. He's going to jump in on top of this point, and it's stolen away. Very easy steal for Gale Force.
Yeah, the beauty of having globals, even if your opponent isn't behind that Muradin, or if your allies are not behind that Muradin right away, you can get the teleport, you can get the flight later on. It's just a risk Freedom was not willing to take here. And 10 is going to be picked up here for Gale Force. I'm expecting pretty much, the standard, if you will, when it comes to the heroic choices. And across the board, it very much is except the hunt.
There he goes. He hunts Nasmus down and takes him out. Insomnia has to blink back behind his wall. Not quite yet does Ragnaros have, his heroic ability, let alone 13, which will help him out a little bit with that. He'll get armor once he gets hunted like that. But for now, that could be the choice of target for Gale Force eSports. We'll see if they change that up once 13 comes in and Ragnaros does have Resilient Flame.
One huge talking point here after we see Freedom manage to be able to pick up the 10. With the Zeratul and the Malfurion probably going to be opting towards that Twilight Dream. ETC as well, if he moves into the mosh pit. There's just a lot of tools that are anti-Illidan now going to be available. He does go into stage that, but still, even between Void, Sulfura Smash, and Twilight Dream, there's a lot of anti-Illidan, and he doesn't have that self-survivability nearly as high, especially considering Brightwing at 7 moved into the cleanse. So Fan is very much going to be on his own throughout this match, and that hunt really, he might quickly become the hunted, I guess.
But if there's one person to leave that onto, I think Fan is a good one to do that. Molten Core has again been used. Equinox uses one Stormbolt, but has to Dwarf Toss away. Probably the teams will trade out on altars. There's only 2 members of Gale Force eSports to try to stop collusion. Magic missiles do not go through in collusion channels in the bottom, up in the mid. Gale Force eSports channel 2, so they're still behind in core health, but traded out on altars.
Yeah, so now for Team Freedom, what they should be looking to do is just catch up in experience as fast as possible. Because over time, again, you're going to see those globals slowly be able to wean the experience into the favor of Gale Force eSports. So when you're winning in these shots, maybe even considering, doing what Gale Force does, soaking a side lane, but not showing yourself. Because the minute you do that, they'll match you in the global and you're not gaining anything over your opponents here. It's just a moment where they can, sit down and make sure that as this game progresses, that this isn't going to be a talent tier difference of experience. It's merely, just this small trickle down like we see now.
Insomnia jumps in. 3-man Void Prison. Here comes the follow-up. Sulfura Smash, stage dive on top. 1 goes down. Brightwing's out of it. Fan drops 2. Now Equinox is on the run. Gust trying to help him out. Insomnia keeping right up with Equinox. Looks like the team does not want to chase in any farther, so Equinox will get away. Had to use Avatar just to do so, and Gust. And now with the focus that Team Freedom has put on this bottom lane, they can pick up a bell tower.
Team Freedom does a lot of things very right for a new team, and it's the exact same scenario that you saw on that middle shrine with Equinox overextending, being able to get the pick. That's 2 times in a row. And the reason why Gale Force eSports and Tempostorm have been so successful in HGC North America so far with that fall set, with that soak, is nobody is just engaging the minute that they know those globals are, because they take time. Every one of those, that transition, yes, it is a global, but it's not instant. Nobody's there the second that the initiation happens. So if you get an initiation, you go very hard as a group and confirm kills. The globals suddenly kind of disappear here, at least in terms of relevance. And the skirmish and defense here over the bell tower is already going to lead Malfurion to die. Nasmus burns it, Sulfura Smash onto 2, but it looks like Akaface ends up dying here at 1-for-2 trade. Gale Force eSports getting the upper hand.
Ooh, Fan hunts back in. That was another reset for Crone. He was low on mana, but still able to make it through 3 kills and an altar for Gale Force. And Gale Force moved back up in the experience, but as long as Team Freedom can keep getting those big engagements, putting their heroic abilities down at the right time, the synergy like that, then they should be able to keep up with Gale Force and experience, like you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's very well. As long as they just focus on being in a position to, every time you see Mikey Doll, Akaface, even Fan out there trying to get experience, just go. Just kill your opponents. And they are very good at making that happen, at least so far into this match. And it's surprising, very surprising to see out of a young team. That is probably one of the later, more of the experience. That takes like 4 months, it seems like, to have the trust that it's just like, when I say go, like we're all going to follow up instantly here, especially with huge cooldowns like that Sulfura Smash and Void.
Well, we have to remember that Team Freedom are very hard workers. When I talked to them, they were so positive about being a hardworking team and making sure that they have a good reputation from that now too. And it looks like that hard work's starting to pay off for them. They are behind a level in this fight. 4 are in the bottom while Illidan and Brightwing are pushing up top versus ETC. So still Zugrug's trying to get the split pressure, the split soak for his team so they don't get too far behind. Zugrug sees Fan taking these saplings up top, but it's going to take Insomnia a little while to come back up. And he looks like he's going to stop in mid to make sure that they're continuing to soak all of the lanes.
Yeah, so the 16 talent here is easily going to be picked up here for Gale Force. And Freedom has got to be able to find the answer. A multi-shrine spawn is pretty much the worst nightmare here for Freedom. And they need even a solo one, because at least they have to forfeit less shots in that position. But when your opponents have multiple globals and a talent tier advantage, it means that they're strong enough to be able to buy the delay and then make the transition in to be able to get the kill. So that that lack of hesitation, it's really going to put Freedom.
Fine.
Yeah, it's going to be putting them to the test here. Freedom has to have legitimately zero hesitation all in the minute that they see anybody around them, because they can expect there is no way they're all stacking on one shrine specifically.
Yeah, this is where Gale Force eSports expects the global composition to pay off for them, is the 5th altar phase. When they have globals, they have a talent tier advantage, and that's exactly what they're going to make happen. They have Equinox and Crowan being able to stall around this top altar, and in fact, having Ragnaros take over the middle bell tower does allow him to stall out in multiple places. So 1 picks up for Team Freedom. Brightwing, Falstad are moving in onto Insomnia in the back. There goes the hunt. Gale Force eSports, oh no, Insomnia had to use Void Prison and nobody fell for it. So not only does Zeradril go down, he uses that very long cooldown, and Gale Force will win 2 of the 3 altars in this 5th phase.
Yeah, just getting caught out there with the peekaboo by Akaface was the beautiful setup there for Fan to be able to execute him there. So very well done coming out from Gale Force, the talent here in their favor. They have full control over this map, and this is really where I expect them to start kind of snowballing. This is where their compositions really do take off. We've hit that 13-minute mark, and really Freedom's got to find the answer. The first is obviously going to be that 16, and I expect the minute that happens, they're going to look to try and defend onto the bottom half. The problem is Void was used there. Oh,
here comes the hunt after a gust. Fan jumping right back in on Collusion, has to use Ice Block, but that won't save his life. Equinox standing in the way that he could body block, maybe even get a second kill if someone tried to help Collusion get out of that position. And this is something that happens to Gale Force eSports sometimes later in the game. It happened versus Naventic, where they start to lose these staggered deaths where one comes back up and is ready for the fight and then another gets taken out, and now Gale Force are able to do that to their opponents. So that only adds to the victory they're starting to try to attain.
Yeah, 2 shots now in favor when it comes to the core health for Gale Force. First time in this game they've managed to be able to secure the lead, at least when it comes to core health. We do see a risky transition there, though, for everybody down below. I thought for a moment that Insomnia was going to get caught out once more. He's been isolating himself a lot onto the Zeratul, and originally that does make a lot of sense to make him, the standalone to be able to get the defense. But with the Molten Core, like buying time, for instance, he's just kind of put himself in positions he didn't necessarily need to be. And he also is the prime setup for his team.
There's the hunt again. Void Prison goes down. That means they won't have it for the fight, but if they can get a kill, this might be the place that Team Freedom could do it. A lot of people insanely jump on to Brightwing, and that is a great turnaround for Team Freedom.
It is a big turnaround, but that was 3 heroics used. Twilight Dream and Dragon Laser are really the only ones left here. But there was quite a few on the side of Gale Force as well, so it may be into their favor. They are going to be able to start the boss. Twilight Dream is the only major tool, so they need to be looking for the skirmish. Fan is going in. Same with the Equinox. This is such a tough spot. Laser, it's going to be dropped. Zugrug with the W. He's trying to peel everybody away. Twilight Dream, Equinox is going to be deleted. Boss going over, but it does cost the life of ETC here for Freedom.
ETC and Muradin are both down. Brightwing 18 seconds. So this is a 3v4 for Gale Force eSports to try to pick up their own altar. Wave of Force drops down. Lee Ming gets taken out. Collusion still stays alive, but they're trading out for another damage dealer. Tychus, who goes down. Fan jumps right on top of 3 members of Team Freedom. He'll drop 2. And now it's only Michael Udall who can help until Brightwing can phase shift in. It might not even be in time. He barrel rolls out of the Sophia smash, but here comes Insomnia just in time.
Yeah, the teleport W there was enough to confirm the kill. Now channels there from Malfurion have happened. That's 3 shots moving to the core. This is going to be 3 more, and a huge momentum swing now. Freedom getting the core down to 10 health. Very well done, and now they have to catch up in the experience in this downtime to convert the bell towers. You know, whenever you have this small advantage, you really need to look to anything and everything. Sadly, on Towers of Doom, or I guess maybe not even sadly, at least for Freedom it is, Towers of Doom, to be able to turn and open up win conditions, it's purely just what is my experience, how many bell towers can I convert into my favor.
Yeah, and they didn't have this bottom bell tower too, so it's a little bit frustrating that they have to actually go back and defend one of their own versus get one stolen away from Gale Force. But Ragnaros is at least picking up sappers and tops. They don't have to deal with those, especially because their bell tower up in top itself is fairly low in health. So whatever they can do to push out lanes and at least just defend so they don't face that same situation again is going to be key there for them. And Team Freedom are catching up in experience. They are trying to get their Storm talents too.
So Gale Force is easily going to be able to pick up this 20. They won't have any major map objective they can really, you know, force that advantage over. So I expect Freedom to be as patient as possible. Even though they are moving with these sappers, the Hunt's going to be used. The Void on top of him cleanses, use Gus to be able to get the split. Gilly, things are not looking good here for Team Freedom.
He came right back out of that Void Prison angry and took out Zeratul. 2 others went down. Only Zugrug and Dansky left. A beautiful repulsion from Crowan, too, to get another kill for his team. 4 for nothing. This game has been back and forth, constant turnarounds from the teams.
And it's all come down to the Hunt. When the Hunt is used, it either nets gain here for Gale Force eSports or the opposite. The bell tower not going to be converted, though, with those sappers, or really, you know, everything just seems to be going against Freedom. But now that is 5 bell towers here in favor of Gale Force. Boss, now it's going to be 6. But without Boss not up, though, they have the opportunity to confirm the top one, get shots on the bottom. That's going to be 7 moving over, and then free channeling shots. I don't think, unless lasers used on bottom, they can convert this fast enough for Team Freedom. So this could be a moment where they could even posture for lethal.
Yeah, Gale Force eSports playing it out very patiently, knowing that there's only 1 altar. Drill was used on the bottom bell tower, but it's a long way from being taken out. Crowan's going to come in too and save it, defend this. Only now are the members of Team Freedom resurrecting, and that is so many shots.
And now 1 by 1. 9. Here's 8. This is going to be close. This is tense. Without 20 picked up for Freedom.
It is hard to defend all these, though. We've got Equinox in the middle. Here comes the Hunt from Fan. There are globals, so this is where they want to make the defense. Gale Force eSports going for another team fight. Stage dive was used. Void Prison will be up in just a few. Gust comes down too.
6. There's going to be the 5th. Void's going to be dropped. They're trying to make something happen, but that is a lot of cooldown slowly. They do manage to get rid of it. The Sulfurous Smash, Twilight Dream. Nobody's going down for either side here after that first pickoff. And the bell tower was converted, though, so a moment where Freedom, you know, can sit back and relax. The question is how much relaxing is going to be done here as Gale Force has that 5 members up, and Boss should be getting up here soon. 1 minute and 5 seconds, so they're going to be fine. Freedom has a moment here. We do have to consider the Gus play, though, that can happen here in the bottom lane for Gale Force eSports.
Yeah, there are 2 sapper camps potentially. So Crowan and Akaface now trying to defend this bell tower, but Team Freedom's rotation was really fast. They understood this was a situation. Equinox comes in with a Storm Bolt. Movement speed's been given, plus Bolt. Oh, Fan hunts straight into the kill zone. I've never,
a wild Fan appears. Bam! He's there. Oh, man, he quickly got on that one, but it was enough to be able to keep himself alive. Gus is going to be available here. Both the sapper camps are stacked. Void is not up. I don't see how Gale Force does not get the pressure. Oh, my goodness. Nobody's responding to bottom. Okay, now they're transitioning. Sorry, Freedom for a moment there walked away like we got the bell tower, it's fine, but the sappers were moving past. I was like, team, hello?
That one's gonna go in.
Oh my goodness.
That's 1. Another one's about to jump in.
Okay.
That's 2. Gale Force only has to get 1 of these altars now. Stage dive comes down, stops Crowan for now. Team Freedom have to win this fight right here, right now.
Yeah, and Voidzone's cooldown for 7 seconds. The hunt onto the backline. Insomnia has nothing to be able to peel off for him with Mike Udall getting that flank as well. So one man down. It's going to be a tough spot here as Freedom is channels from both sides. The split Aquaface is going to be not going down the the submerge there, and it looks like this is it. Gale Force is going to channel from one of the two sides. Either way, they've got it, and in convincing fashion, very Gale Force-esque, they're going to be able to pull out game 1.
That was a roller coaster of a game.
You're like, well, Gale Force has the advantage. You're like, oh, here's the hunt.
Wait,
and,
Freedom has the advantage.
And then another hunt was used.
Wait a second, Gale Force is back in the lead. What is happening this game? But Team Freedom, I have to give them credit. They had great synergy from their heroic abilities. Insomnia did get caught quite a bit from Gale Force, but it's hard with all of those globals, including the hunt. The minute that he's revealed, it's just like, well, there's a mark over my head. What is that? Okay, I'm dead. But they executed synergy well. They brought it to Gale Force on Gale Force's battleground, just like they did to Tempo Storm. I think they're looking better and better every single match.
I very much agree, and that wasn't like nearly as clean as I expected Gale Force to really kind of come out there for game 1 against Freedom, and a lot of it was because they were just doing the right things, like forcing those initiations left and right. So good signs, but that was, again, that's home turf, if you will, for Gale Force, so maybe on the next map we'll see a different tale.
Well, we will see. We're going to go to a break. When we return,